Sarah Mahoney, co-founder for the Florida Human Trafficking Victims Fund. It's always great to have her here with us for these announcements. Kim Figueroa from More to Living. Tracy Cayley, the director of Baycare Behavioral Health. Again, these are the individuals that help us change lives, save lives, and prove that Florida is the best state to raise a family. So I'll let some of these individuals speak, but again, I want to say, as Attorney General, my promise is to make this the safest state to raise a family. And that's not just a slogan, we prove it with results. We have broken every record in the books the last year and a half when it comes to arrests, prosecutions, and convictions. We've taken down more child predators and violent offenders than ever, and that is not going to change. Florida will never be a haven for those that want to prey on our kids. If you come here and you do harm, you will pay for it. We will bring everything we have. We will throw the book at you. We will ensure that you are locked up forever. And where you are eligible, we will be seeking the death penalty for child sex abusers here in Florida. So we take this seriously. We're committed. I hope to be here with this great group behind me many, many more times. From the bottom of my heart, my thank you to all the law enforcement officers, nonprofit leaders, and partners that helped to bring these kids home, and now the real work begins. So with that, I will turn it over to Commissioner Glass, who took on a pretty big role here. It's tough to do this and lead these efforts when you haven't done it before. I hope Catherine's going to take you out to a really nice dinner because you guys, you nailed it. Marshall Berger, I think, is proud, and we're honored to support you in this effort. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. First off, wow, thank you for being here, and what a great operation. And General, I just want to say thank you for your tenacity, your support for law enforcement, your support for prosecution, your support for our survivors that are out there is above reproach. This man right here and his leadership has really given us the push, the things that we need to know that we have an Attorney General that goes after the really bad and evil people. But this operation was one of the best I've seen, and he said 5 days. I just was told it's really 4.5, but we're going to round up to 5 to rescue 163 children. Now, that's over 6 states of recovery, Puerto Rico, and 12 countries. So that shows you the tentacles of this, where these children may go. So just in this Tampa Bay region, where you have a lot of great professionals here that were part of this thing, just Tampa Bay region here, we had 46 recovered just in this area here alone. So we're having this press conference. That shows you that this, in just 4.5 days of the recovery that happened. Now, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about our unsung heroes, which is, you're going to hear from some of them here that supported the law enforcement efforts as we move through this. After we arrest or after we recover and we bring them to a place of recovery where these children to be able to be reunited with either families or to get the special services they need, that's where our other partners, our Department of Children and Families kicks in. That's where our non-governmental organizations kick in and provide that services that we really need to be paying attention to, and we really need to support in our local community, because what they bring to provide comfort for these children is it's amazing to watch. So please, I just implore you in the community, and I implore you out there to ensure that you're giving to these organizations, because they do provide a service that protects our children, and they see further with these children, years down the road, into the Attorney General's office through the Victims Advocacy Program, and the ability that they have to reach out and continue to be with these children the whole time. Now, this was a full spectrum operation. That means everybody, hands on deck, we're all involved. There's too many people to list in here, and I would be remiss to try to even attempt to, all the sheriff's offices, all the police chiefs and all their departments, the state entities, our DJJ, everybody that was here. There's just way too many to do that. But what makes us successful, especially if you notice Tampa Bay region, we're always coming here for a lot of this, because of the success we have here, is because of the partnerships. The state of Florida has some of the best partnerships, and that partnership's not only just within law enforcement, but I talked to you again about through our prosecutorial, through our non-governmental organizations that are out there providing services, but it's also through the community. Because you provide information to us that lets us to try to find these children and help us do follow-up on leads and stuff. So I want to commend the community also for their assistance and help of helping us in different areas. But the biggest issue is we want to make sure that every children is rescued. Now, if we did this in 4.5 days, and we worked a great operation with U.S. Marshals across the state through the Middle District and Northern District, and we've saved a lot of children this past year, but there's more to be saved. And the more we are making awareness of this, the more that parents, the more that the community can pay attention to these children that are moving around in the community or even seeing something, the signs of human trafficking, the signs that we put out stuff in campaigns. You see the blue campaign from DHS. Pay attention to that because there are people being trafficked all throughout the United States at any given time. We need to be paying attention to that because if we can reduce the amount of people that has been taken or stolen, then the better it is for us not to leave a child behind. So with that, I just want to say thank you for your pledge, I think, to help not only our law enforcement, but our NGOs. And I really appreciate you, General, for everything you've done.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you for being here. As I stand here listening to the stats and the numbers, I have my wife ringing through my head. And she has this saying that says, leave the judging to Jesus. And I'm like, well, I ain't Jesus. And I fall very short on a regular basis. It turns out I'm an extremely judgmental person. You can do whatever you want in your life. That's not what it is. This isn't about left or right because children and protecting children is not political. But I have to look at you in the eyes and tell you that if you harm children in this state, I'm super judgy. And I want all the hells. I want all the damnation. And I want all the bad that I can muster to come down and rain hell on you. Florida does not play. If you believe for one moment that you can operate within the borders of this state and harm a child, I have a really, really simple message for you. You will die tired because you will be looking over your shoulder 24/7 for one of these men and women to come. And it's not just cops. It's the attitude of Florida that we have taken that says we will protect children at all costs. That's why you've got people in scrubs here. That's why you have people in suits here. That's why you have people in uniforms here, because the protection of children is our greatest responsibility, and no one person can do it alone. So we found 163 kids. That's phenomenal. You know what I say? That's not enough. Because today there's another 163 that are begging for you to find them. And all you have to do is let the cops and the people eat. Let them do their job. And it doesn't matter who you are. If you're a bad guy, and in our head, we think, oh, that bad guy is like some scumbag that's like, in the corner, like all dirty. Well, it turns out that a bad guy can look like me and be a state rep. And a bad guy can be a grandfather. So because of our attorney general right now, and this is not, and I promise this is not political. We've always had people that wanted to protect kids, but we never put our money where our mouth is. Cops are always trying to go do the work. But because we've turned it on, and because we've said no longer in this state, we have messages like today. 163 in less than 5 days. Imagine if we dedicated ourselves to do this all the time. You don't want Rita on you all the time. I'm just telling you that right now. So maybe we should limit it to 4.5 days just for now. I'm just saying. But the message is clear. In the state of Florida, we will never tolerate this. We will never accept it, and we will find you. You will die tired. There's a meme going on right now in the state of, in the country, right? And you ever seen it? People are saying like, hey, you've got to take care of yourself so no one's coming. No one will come and rescue you. Well, I'm going to tell you something. If you touch kids, we're coming. Florida's coming. God bless you all. Thank you for letting me be here. Appreciate you.
There's not too many people that we would allow to sit next to Rita at council table because they can't bring the heat or the passion. But Danny, I think you might actually hit the mark there. All right, next we will hear from Rita. Come on up.
And I thought I was animated. Thank you, General. Thank you, Representative and Commissioner. And actually, thank you to all of the partners that I've had the distinct honor of working with day in and day out, not just on these operations, but also on the many investigations that we get involved in, such as the Department of Children and Families, the Department of Juvenile Justice. We have our many victim services organizations like More to Life and One More Child, and obviously victim services that come through the forms of donations with Sarah Mahoney and her organization. I mean, this was definitely an operation that was not one agency, but we all came together to be one agency. The Attorney General has said that in Florida, protecting our children is our top priority, and this week has proven that. Setting a priority is one thing. This operation is what happens when that priority becomes a call to action. I'm honored to have been involved with the men and women of law enforcement from all the various agencies around the state, including FDLE Tampa, who spearheaded this operation. I sat around the table with Assistant Special Agent in Charge Megan Palumbo, Dr. Catherine Gomez from the Department of Children and Families, Valerie Belford from DJJ, Sarah Mahoney, Baycare, all of these agencies, and the dedicated men and women of law enforcement. And I am just so very blessed to have been part of that conversation as statewide prosecution. Prosecution is commonly understood as courtroom work, but that's only a small part of our obligation. An office that defines itself only by the trials waits for a file to arrive, and the victims are just a number for their statistics. By the time that file arrives, the harm has already been done. However, the obligation of a prosecutor is to reach these children before they become just another file. And over the course of that operation, that obligation was met 163 times. No single agency could have done this. A missing child case does not respect jurisdictional lines, borders, or even workloads. Our brave law enforcement officers were boots on the ground, working tirelessly day in and day out to carry out this mission. But they did not work alone, as you have heard. They worked in lockstep with our victim advocates, with our victim service organizations, with our community partners, with DJJ, DCF, Baycare, who provided safe respite for our victims to address their immediate needs. That call to action was sent out statewide. FDLE answered that call. DCF answered that call. DJJ answered that call. The Attorney General's office answered that call. Baycare and its partners answered that call. Our victim advocates answered that call. Our service organizations answered that call. And Florida's Human Trafficking Victims Fund answered that call. And we thank you very much. Every one of those agencies and organizations had its own mission and its own overwhelming caseload. But for 5 days, well, 4.5, we had one goal and a shared unified mission. These children were a mix, as you've heard, of endangered, at-risk, and juvenile runaway cases. And that distinction matters less than it appears. They all describe a child who is not with an adult who can protect them, not with an adult who can keep them from harm or abuse. Victimization of a child rarely begins with an abduction. It begins with a child who is left home or has been pushed out of one, who has no money and nowhere to sleep, and who often meets an adult offering food, shelter, and much-needed attention. These children often leave because being on the street is better than being with their abusive parent or their guardians who sell them on a daily basis. A child living on the street is not a child who is safe. A child living on the street can be lured into a life of crime. A child living on the street is a child that a predator has already identified and targeted. Recovery is just the first day of a child's case, not the last. The safety and security of these children is determined by what waits for that child on the other side. Appropriate placement, trauma-informed services, and consistent adult presence. That is why our advocates and caseworkers were positioned in advance rather than called afterwards. When a child was recovered late at night, a trained professional was already there to answer that call. In Florida, protecting our kids is top priority. 163 children are accounted for after these efforts because every agency on this stage answered that very call. Thank you, General, for giving me the opportunity to carry out your mission to protect the children of the state of Florida.
Thank you, Rita. One thing that's always interesting to me, Rita knows this well, once people are in the jails locked up, they'll do calls with some of their buddies on the phones. And they know that anything they say can be used against them. But lately we've been hearing these calls and they're all telling their buddies like, stay away from Florida. Don't come down here. If you're going to get into trouble, don't come here. And then people do it anyway. So we'll keep getting them. Next we have DCF Assistant Secretary Jonathan Stevens.
Thank you so much, General. And good morning, and thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to be here. My name is Jonathan Stevens, and I have the honor of serving as the Assistant Secretary for the Office of Community Services with the Florida Department of Children and Families. And on behalf of Interim Secretary Williams, I want to thank the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for leading not only this successful operation, but today's event. Today is especially significant, as you've heard from so many of these speakers. It underscores the value of every life and the critical importance of partnership in protecting and supporting our most vulnerable children. I'm absolutely humbled to stand alongside so many dedicated professionals, leaders like Commissioner Glass, Attorney General Uthmeyer, and others. This is an opportunity not only to reflect on the successes of Operation Statewide Shield, but to reaffirm what partnership can accomplish when government, faith organizations, not-for-profits, and the private sector all come together and share their strengths and use their collective expertise to protect children across this state. The numbers we've heard today demonstrate just how deeply that commitment and partnership were woven throughout this entire operation. You've heard from the earliest planning stages all the way through recovery and into ongoing support. One powerful example of that was the creation of service hubs in each one of the 8 cities as a part of this operation. Bringing these children to safety would not have been possible without coordinated planning and the brave men and women in law enforcement leading and serving on the front lines. But as we all know, and as Commissioner Glass pointed out, recovery is really just the beginning. Helping a child heal is the work that follows in the days to come. Operation Statewide Shield is a clear and powerful illustration of what we can achieve when we come together with urgency and shared purpose. Thanks to the efforts of the many, there's been over 160 children that are now safe and supported, and that's something that everyone should be proud of. I would be remiss if I didn't highlight the contributions of the DCF team, who not only contributed to the operational planning and logistics, but also provided critical information that helped shape the recovery protocols throughout, and deployed to the front lines to support this mission in real time, ensuring that every child that was recovered was met with the care and compassion that they deserved. I want to take just a moment to recognize the dozens of DCF professionals from across our state who answered that call and helped make this mission possible. Thank you for your expertise, your unrelenting dedication, your incredible passion. Your work directly resulted in the recovery of these missing children. And I'm proud, humbled, and truly honored to work alongside of you. This appreciation and pride also extends to the outstanding work of our lead agency partners, service providers, and victim advocacy partners whose dedication and collaboration continue to make a meaningful difference. I want to again extend my sincere thanks to the leaders of FDLE, DJJ, and the Attorney General's office, as well as your respective teams, for your partnership and for recognizing the meaningful impact of our agency's contribution and those of our valued partners. Truly, thank you for standing shoulder to shoulder in this unified mission to protect such a truly, truly precious and sacred population, the children of our great state. Thanks.
Thank you, Jonathan. I know we've got a longer announcement here, but because there were so many people involved, I do think it's important to hear from a few of our partners. Sarah Mahoney from the Florida Human Trafficking Victims Fund. So always a pleasure to have you, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you, General. Thank you, Commissioner, Representative Alvarez, Rita, of course, and this amazing team of law enforcement that stands behind me here today. My name is Sarah Mahoney, and along with my partner, Tony Azinger, we're the founders of the Florida Human Trafficking Victims Fund. But before I tell you about how this fund just supported this historic effort, we've supported in a small way, but I have to read a short line from Scripture because we believe it so exemplifies what we witnessed last week. Let the children come to me, do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these. It was remarkable to watch from the sidelines the work of our brave men and women in law enforcement and the victim service providers and the medical assistants that came alongside them to rescue these children from the darkness and give them an opportunity to live their life. The reason why the Florida Human Trafficking Victims Fund was created was to support operations like this. Our mission statement was to support law enforcement and the efforts of victim service providers as they come along law enforcement to identify, rescue, and stabilize victims across the board. We are part of the Florida Sheriff's Association. We are guided by 3 magnificent sheriffs, Sheriff Chad Chronister, Sheriff Michelle Cook, and Sheriff Rick Ramsey. It has been an unbelievable experience to be able to work with the Florida Sheriff's Association this year. They were very helpful in supporting this operation. Let me explain a little bit about how we were able to then help the professionals behind us. Through the incredible members of this community, and many of them are here today, we were able to provide food, meals for all the FDLE command posts for 5 days across the state. We believe that our law enforcement needed to be there to do their task at hand, and we wanted to take care of any other details they needed. We were also able to provide food for all of our hubs, our hospitals, 13 of them across the state of Florida that were receiving the children and the families all day long. We were also able to procure and deliver items necessary for these recoveries, sheets, towels, backpacks full of toiletries, clothing, gift cards, gas gift cards for families. There's just so many stories, you can't begin to tell them all, but families who had enough gas to get to the hub to pick up their child, but not enough gas to get home. None of this happens without our amazing, amazing community partners, and I just have to quickly mention them now. First and foremost, One More Child and their unbelievable staff and volunteers and their 3 compassion centers that really were able to supply a lot of the needed items for across the state. Place of Hope out of South Florida really filled a vital gap for our hubs down in South Florida. United Abolitionists out of Orlando did a tremendous job in Orlando with our hubs and helping out our command centers. And then some of our other partners from the Rotarians in Florida. I have to mention our couple of restaurants because they generously gave. Nobody said no. That's the beautiful thing about Floridians. Nobody said no when they were asked. Pop-Up Bagels, Dave's Hot Chicken, Jersey Mike's, Mission Barbecue, Lime Fresh Mexican Grill, Thomason's New York Pizza. It was such an unbelievable pleasure to be able to work with all these community partners. Every last one of them said, what more can we do to support our law enforcement? Lastly, because I could certainly speak well over my time, but lastly, let me just say, as a civilian volunteer who was able to really watch this operation from the outside in, we can never know those 163 children. We can't know their lives or what is going to become of them now. But what we can know and why we can put our heads on our pillows at night and go to sleep is knowing that here in Florida, 163 precious lives were rescued. They were taken out of the darkness. They were given hope and they were given a second chance because of the brave men and women in law enforcement and the amazing victims advocates that come alongside them. So may God bless those children. May God bless all these people up here. And thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of this operation. Thank you.
Kim Figueroa from More to Living.
Good morning. I want to take a moment to thank our great Attorney General and also our Commissioner. Thank you so much. And the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for entrusting me to be your Victim Service Coordinator across this statewide operation. Today, on the behalf of MTL, I want to take a moment to recognize an incredibly important part of Operation Statewide Shield, and that is the victim advocacy response. During this operation, 163 children were recovered. Behind that number, 163 individual children, each with their own story, their own experiences, and their own needs. Our responsibility was not simply to locate these children. It was to make sure that when they were recovered, they were met with compassion, safety, dignity, and support. Across our recovery hubs, advocates served as a consistent point of contact for these children. They welcomed them, listened to them, helped identify their immediate needs, connected them with medical and behavioral health services, and stayed alongside them into the stillness of night as they navigated what can be an overwhelming and, for some, an unfamiliar process. Every advocate worked closely with the Department of Children and Families, law enforcement, medical professionals, behavioral health providers, and community partners. This collaboration allowed us to focus not only on the recovery of the child, but what the child needed after the recovery. For us, success is not simply measured by the number. 163 children recovered is an extraordinary accomplishment, but what happens next matters just as much. Every child deserves to know that they are seen, that they are heard, and that they are not alone. I want to recognize the advocates and DCF staff that sometimes didn't go to bed until 2 a.m. in the morning, our law enforcement partners, our healthcare professionals, and community organizations who came across the state to make this response possible. Your willingness to step forward, work together, and put the needs of children first, it truly made a difference. And most importantly, to the 163 children we served, you matter. Your voice matters. Your safety matters. And your future matters. This operation demonstrated what is possible when agencies and communities come together with one shared purpose to protect children and help them move forward. Thank you to everyone who made Statewide Shield possible, and thank you for standing with the children that we serve.
We'll save the best for last here, Director Tracy Cayley from BayCare.
No pressure. Thank you. This marks the 4th time that BayCare has assisted law enforcement with a child recovery operation. When we were first approached a couple of years ago and asked to support one of these missions, we knew that as the largest provider of pediatric and behavioral health services in West Central Florida, that BayCare was in a unique position to help. Yet the task ahead was daunting. Our charge was to provide much more than just medical care. Healthcare providers are often the only professionals with whom a child may interact with while being trafficked, and we knew we would have limited time to earn their trust and provide the care and resources needed. So we gathered with our community partners and got to work devising a plan to provide safe and consenting care while meeting the unique needs of each child, and our model worked. Staffed with healthcare, security, and social service professionals specially trained to provide trauma-informed care, the BayCare Recovery Hub is a space where children's voices are heard and their boundaries are respected. To date, it has served more than 100 children, and we are proud to now work with other health systems to share our experience and build a network of providers capable of assisting law enforcement and supporting vulnerable youth. During Operation Statewide Shield, 7 different recovery hubs were created across the state, from Pensacola to Miami. It was truly inspiring to see the care and collaboration of everyone involved. We sincerely thank Gulf Coast Kids House, Manatee Children's Advocacy Center, Wolfson Children's Hospital, Child Advocacy Centers, Advent Health Medical Group, Citrus Health Network, St. Mary's Palm Beach Children's Hospital, and the Tallahassee Child Protection Team for their support and dedication to serving their communities. As I wrap up, I'd like to share a quick story. About a month ago, a young woman came into our BayCare hospital and asked to go to the recovery hub. Mind you, we don't set up the recovery hubs year-round, but she walked in, said, I want to go upstairs to the recovery hub. She was someone who had been rescued during a previous operation. We remembered her well because she was a little feisty, she was tearful, she was distraught, she was scared, angry, and she initially refused our help. At the time, we gave her some space. We also gently surrounded her with care and resources that we hoped would be a lifeline that she may be willing to take. When she left our recovery hub that day, we were honestly uncertain if we had gotten through to her. When she made a choice to return all those months later, we knew we had. The work being done at the recovery hubs doesn't always result in instant metrics of lives saved. Hopefully what it does is provide a first step to a better path forward. BayCare is honored to once again stand with the law enforcement and child advocacy communities represented behind me who helped make that first step possible. Thank you.
I'll conclude just by thanking God for the brave law enforcement that put their lives on the line to keep our state safe, to our community and faith-based partners, to our prosecutors and advocates that seek justice. I thank God for the children that we've rescued. I thank him that there's fewer young teenage girls now being forced into stripping and exotic dancing. There's fewer children being trafficked. There's fewer foster kids that have been drugged and abused. But unfortunately, there's more work to be done. So we'll be there. We'll be ready. We will always pursue what's right and just. I know we've been up here a while. I'll take a couple questions on the operation. Keep in mind there are a lot of minors here where we can't give details. We have made several arrests. We believe we're pretty confident there's going to be several more coming, but we're limited in what we can report on right now. We'll get you that information as soon as we can. But any questions?